Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Steve Decker, the director of the Meteorology Undergraduate Program, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about what the Meteorology Program here at Rutgers is all about. So the first thing to be aware about the Meteorology Undergraduate Program is that we are one of three undergraduate programs housed within the Department of Environmental Sciences. That department, in turn, is part of the Rutgers School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. So when you're applying to Rutgers, if you're interested in being a meteorology major, you'll want to make sure you apply specifically to the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences. What you can see on your screen is some of the equipment that is either managed or maintained by the department, including on the left, Storm Tracker 4, which is the Doppler radar that's mainly used by Channel 4 in New York, but we also use it here within our program, and it's located here on our campus. In the middle, you have got a picture of our traditional weather station in Rutgers Gardens, not too far from our meteorology building. This is a station that's been around for over a century, recording temperatures, precipitation, snowfall amounts to contribute to a very long-term climate record. And then to the right, you see another weather station that we have at one of the research farms a few miles down the road from here. And this is one of the most advanced weather stations in the entire Northeast. If you can imagine it, it's being measured at that particular station. We currently have 48 students in the meteorology program, which puts us sort of in the medium-sized program. There are universities out there with larger meteorology programs, and there are university programs with smaller students. We feel like we're kind of just the right size to offer all of the resources students need to succeed, but we're not so huge that we don't get to know all the students. We do get to know all of our 48 majors that we have right now in the program. You're also seeing the faculty that are associated with the meteorology program. As I mentioned, we are just one of three majors within the Department of Environmental Sciences. So if you look at the faculty of the department at large, there are many more faculty in the environmental science and environmental engineering side of things. This slide is just showing those folks who are associated with meteorology in particular. And you can see two asterisks there indicating two of our faculty members are fellows of the American Meteorological Society. That's one of the highest honors that the AMS bestows on its members. So we are lucky to have two of those fellows on our faculty here at Rutgers. Now, sometimes as program director, I'm asked, are there actually jobs in meteorology? Aren't computers taking over and doing everything? And the answer is there are jobs in meteorology. It's a small field, but it's a growing field. In fact, according to the Occupational Outlook Handbook from the federal government's Bureau of Labor Statistics, they are forecasting a 6% growth rate in atmospheric science and meteorology over the coming decade, which they consider faster than average. You can also see the most recent median pay statistics there, a little over $90,000 per year as a typical median wage. It's important to recognize that's the median, and that's not the entry-level wage necessarily. But you can certainly get a job, and you don't have to have an advanced degree. You can see here it says bachelor's degree is the typical entry-level education. It really depends on your career path, if you'll need to go on to graduate school or not. Also, there was a fairly recent survey that found that students that graduate with an atmospheric science or meteorology degree have a very low unemployment rate, one of the lowest unemployment rates of the various college majors that they calculated. So what kinds of jobs can you get as a meteorologist? It's important to note that while you certainly can get a job as a meteorologist, and what you're seeing here on this slide is just a broad selection of our alumni over the last 15 years and where they have ended up, just to show the kinds of things you can do with a meteorology degree. So yes, you can be a meteorologist and work at places like the National Weather Service, forecast offices. That's what NWSFO means, like in Albany, New York. We got someone in Spokane, Washington. We have a recent graduate over in Dodge City, Kansas. So that's certainly an option. Also Reno, Nevada. But there are also these areas, not strictly speaking right within meteorology, that are also open to you. So you're not limited to just meteorology jobs when you graduate from our program with a meteorology degree. So for instance, you can see on the left side here, we have Rebecca Everard, who's a scientist at Kleinfelder, which is a civil engineering firm. We have Nicole down at the bottom middle here, who is an electronic warfare specialist. That has technical computing and how it's used for military applications at L3 Harris, which is a military contractor. That's also the company that built many of the GOES, or geostationary weather satellites, that are currently in orbit. You could work at an airline like Ashley as the senior manager of data engineering at JetBlue. She started out in a meteorology role because airlines, they certainly care about the weather and setting up their schedules and deciding when to cancel flights. But she has kind of moved into a larger role about data engineering. So you gain technical skills as a meteorology major that you can apply in other areas, not just as, say, a weather forecaster in the National Weather Service. So lots of things you can end up doing. Now, one of the hallmarks of our meteorology program here at Rutgers specifically is the flexibility of our program. What students tell me who have explored other programs is there are some programs out there that are very rigid, and basically, if you're a meteorology major, you know all the courses you're going to be taking pretty much all 4 years, and there's not a lot of room to do other things in addition to meteorology. But in our program, you do have at least 20 elective credits to fill on your schedule, and maybe more if you're coming in with AP credits or decide to take your classes in the summertime. And so there is room to minor in something or even double major in some other subject to complement your meteorology major. So I've listed here on this slide just a few of the hundreds of programs that exist at Rutgers, but these are ones that can complement the meteorology major particularly well. So if you're interested in scientific computing, for instance, programming some of those geostationary satellites, or programming the software that weather service forecasters use at places like their Mount Holly office here in New Jersey, you might decide to minor or double major in computer science. If you're interested in broadcast meteorology, you might minor in science communication or the digital communication minor. If you're interested in the intersection between meteorology and the business world, we do have graduates at places like Wall Street hedge fund firms. You might decide to minor in environmental and business economics. So basically, the idea is as you start to get an understanding for the different career paths you can pursue with a meteorology degree, you might decide to augment that with a minor or even double major that points you even more firmly in that particular direction. We also have for our students opportunities to get out into the atmosphere. 2 of them in particular are courses that we offer within the department. One is a meteorology course, severe weather forecasting field trip, which involves a 2-week field trip during the summer session right after Memorial Day, where we go out to the plains and safely observe severe weather and learn about how to forecast severe weather. And then during spring break, there's a field trip to Costa Rica. This is an environmental science course, but many meteorology students are interested in this, and this is looking at how things like climate change are already affecting the tropical ecosystems down in Costa Rica. So there's a class during the spring semester, and then during spring break, they go to Costa Rica to actually see what's going on down there. In terms of extracurricular activities, of course, Rutgers is a big place with many different clubs, but we have 2 student organizations that are specifically geared towards meteorology students. One is what we call the Meteorology Club, the student chapter of the American Meteorological Society here at Rutgers, and the other is the Weather Watcher Club, which is geared specifically to broadcast meteorology, and they produce weathercasts from our TV studio over in Perry Hall. So on the slide, you can see just a few of the many Weather Watcher alumni who are off in the world of broadcast meteorology, either at national networks like Fox Weather or NBC, or local stations like News 12 or NY1, which is like the CNN of New York City, and other local affiliates around the area. Now, both of these clubs have also been recognized numerous times for their good work and high involvement in the Rutgers community. And so you have here a picture just from this past spring of some of the awards that both of our clubs have received from the university in recognition of all that they do. As a Rutgers student, it is possible to have a part-time job or get involved in research while you're a student. I've listed here some of the common things that our students will do or be involved in. Spot and Weather is maybe particularly interesting because that's a consulting firm here in New Jersey that is specifically geared to work with TV and film productions. Because if they're shooting outdoors, they want to know what the weather's going to be like so they can get the perfect shot. Sometimes they don't want it to be raining. Sometimes maybe they do want it to be raining. One of our interns, a Rutgers student, actually was on the phone with Steven Spielberg once when West Side Story was being filmed, that remake here in New Jersey. And they wanted to know how the weather, was the weather going to clear up in time for them to film a particular scene. So that was really a cool experience for that particular student. Then we have our thematic community, the Weather Watcher thematic community. So I mentioned earlier, Perry Hall is where our TV studio is. It's just across the field from the meteorology building, which is more formally known as the ENR building, where most of the meteorology courses are held. So Perry Hall is actually a dorm and with a TV studio in it, but the rest of Perry Hall is standard dorm rooms. And so what you can do as a meteorology student, or even just a student interested in meteorology, maybe not officially declaring meteorology as your major, is you can decide to live in what we call the Weather Watcher thematic community, which means you live on the first floor of Ferry Hall, just down the hallway from the TV studio. So you can have quick and easy access to that studio, basically 24/7 when you're living in Perry Hall. Other students who aren't living in Perry Hall, there's an exterior door that lets you get into the studio without living in the hall. But even if you're not interested in broadcast meteorology, the technical skills you pick up being involved in the Weather Watcher community can pay off no matter what you end up doing when you graduate. So to summarize, some of the key features of Rutgers that makes it attractive is, first of all, it's certainly a big school. It's a Big Ten university with all the football games and all the clubs and all of the student activities going on. Over 30,000 undergraduate students and then graduate students on top of that. But at the same time, you're part of the SEBS community, the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences, which is only 3,400 students or so, just a tenth basically of the overall Rutgers population. So when you're on the Cook campus, the part of Rutgers where SEBS is located, it feels like you're at a much smaller school than the big state university of New Jersey that Rutgers is. So you really get the both of both worlds as a SEBS student and as a meteorology student. Also, Rutgers has a number of excellent programs, not just meteorology. So that means if you do minor or double major in something, chances are that thing you're double majoring in is also a great program. It also means that if it turns out that meteorology doesn't work out for you as your major, there's no need to transfer somewhere else. For plan B, there's going to be another program here at Rutgers that matches your interests for sure. I mentioned earlier, our program size, we're a medium-sized program. So it's just right, not too large, not too small. And as a result, also the students on their exit surveys often refer to our program as having a family-like atmosphere. We've got the Doppler radar on our campus, which many programs do not have access to a Doppler radar like we do. And then just a proven track record of our alumni success. And also our students are very competitive and getting accepted into a leadership workshop that the National Center for Atmospheric Research puts on every year out in Colorado in the summertime. Almost every summer, we're sending a Rutgers student out to that competitive program. So with that, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today, and I hope to see you in the future. Take care.